Okay, boys and girls, I'm back with another video in our ELA coach. This is lesson 15, compare and contrast informational text. So compare and contrast, just to review what that means. When you compare things, you look at similarities, things that are the same. And contrast means to look at differences. So we're going to read two different passages and see how they're similar and how they're different. One of the things that they also talk about in this lesson is point of view. And we did this lesson earlier this year. Point of view answers the question, who is telling the story? So first person would mean that the narrator is the character or is sharing a personal experience. So since this is informational text, if it's written in first person, it's told from a personal point of view. So you would hear the words I or we. If it's second person, which is very uncommon in informational text like this, you would hear the word you. And third person, you would hear the words he, she, or it. That means it's not being, no personal experiences are being shared by the person who wrote it, by the author. So let's read two different passages. The first one is called Speeding Along, and the second one is called Shinkansen. So we're going to look at the reading guide for the first passage, Speeding Along. We want to know what is the topic of the passage. We're going to find two clues that tell us the point of view. And we're going to underline a personal observation that shows the author's feelings about riding the train. So let's read, and then we'll go back and answer those questions. Speeding along. I travel to many countries for business, and I was lucky enough to get the chance to ride a bullet train in Japan. Riding a train can be exciting when the train travels up to 200 miles per hour. The Shinkansen railway network connects most of Japan with webs of tracks that are each dedicated to a single train. I was surprised to learn that trains in Japan are usually on time to the second. But when you realize that each track only carries one train, it makes sense. Trains in the United States often share tracks. U.S. trains are often late because they are waiting for the track to be clear. The trains in Japan are shaped like bullets. They are designed to reduce wind resistance, which can slow trains down. They are long, white, and look like something you might ride into space. Bullet trains are carefully designed on the inside for peaceful, quiet rides. Train interiors look more like those in planes than those in other trains. Though the train was full, there was plenty of room. Each car has a restroom, and there are vending machines for snacks. An attendant who also brings snacks around on a cart. As we zoomed over the tracks, there was little noise. This is quite different from trains in the United States, where you can not only hear the train slide over the tracks, but can also feel the train cars shaking. It was interesting to ride the bullet train. The trip was smooth and quiet, and I arrived in Tokyo in record time. It's an experience I won't forget. Okay, so when we look at the first question, the topic, it's obviously talking about bullet trains in Japan. So that's what I'm going to write. So that's the answer to the first question. Circle two clues that tell you the point of view. Well, when I read this passage, I heard lots of I's. And if you remember, when you hear the word I, or you see the word I in a passage, that's being told from first person point of view. You'll see words like we as we zoomed over the tracks. So those are my two clues, I and we. So this would be first person. And then it says underline a personal observation that shows the author's feelings about riding the train. So I need to find feelings. When I go back here, first sentence, I was lucky enough. That's a feeling. To get the chance to ride a bullet train in Japan. As I continue scanning the text, it says he or she also mentions riding a train can be exciting. That's another clue. See if you can find a clue. Oh, I knew you would find it. I was surprised. That's another feeling. I was surprised to learn that trains in Japan are usually on time. What else? Is there any others? Do you see any others? Careful to look now. They also mentioned it was interesting to ride the bullet train. So all these clues are just examples of feelings. There's even one at the bottom. It is an experience I won't forget. Okay, so good job with that. So now let's look at the text Shinkansen, and we're going to be paying attention to see if we notice any differences in how this passage is written. So what is the main difference between this passage and the first passage? What topic does the author of this passage discuss that the first passage does not address? And underline a sentence that tells you who designed the train and railway system. Okay, so let's read this together. When it began operating in 1964, the Shinkansen was an innovative method of railway transportation in Japan. The trains covered 320 miles between the major Japanese cities of Tokyo and Osaka. The Shinkansen trains traveled up to 130 miles per hour. The train and railway system were designed by Hideo Shima. Shima helped design the trains and the tracks, which were unique because they were not shared. Only one train travels along a track. This greatly improves safety because there is no danger of accidental collisions. Introduced in time for the 1964 Olympics, the trains were soon nicknamed bullet trains by excited passengers. They traveled faster than a bullet, and sleek designs resembled a bullet shape. Japan has added many more routes to the Shinkansen since 1964. Planners even added a tunnel to accommodate the tracks. Bullet trains have also increased in speed over time, traveling from 150 miles per hour and topping out at 185 miles per hour. In 2013, some Shinkansen trains can attain speeds of 200 miles per hour. The speed of these trains can pose safety risks, however. Special technology has been added to make Shinkansen trains safe. For example, all the trains are tracked by computers, so each train's location is always known. Another safety feature includes special parts on the brakes that ensure that the trains can stop suddenly. These measures have been taken so that passengers will arrive at their destinations quickly and safely. So, main difference between the first and this passage and the first passage is the point of view. The first passage is told from first person or personal point of view, while the second one is not. It's just strictly facts. So the first passage is told from a personal experience, while this passage does not. You could put third person. So that's a big difference. You'll notice you'll see the words it, So that's a clue. The trains, the Shinkansen, it names, anytime it uses the name of a person, place, or thing, it's third person. What topic does the author of this passage discuss that the first passage does not address? One of the things that I noticed is that it keeps mentioning the word safety, especially toward the end. Another safety feature, safety risks, that comes up quite a bit. So safety. And then it says underline a sentence that tells you who designed the train and railway system. Well, simply I need to just go back and find where it says that. So as I scan the text, I notice it in the first paragraph. It says the train and railway system were designed by Hideo Shima. So as you can see, when you compare and contrast text, you want to pay attention to point of view, pay attention to how it's written, pay attention to the information that's provided, and use good judgment. Okay, so let's now move to the apply question. Answer the following question about the passage. Which information can you find in both passages? So like I've always told you, always good to go back and read if you forgot and eliminate bad choices. So always start from the top. So let's start from the bottom. The service variable inside of the train. All right, that wasn't discussed in both passages, so that's out. The safety concerns for the train. Well, that's only mentioned in the second passage, not the first. So that one is out. The description of the inside of the train. I can't remember. So let's go back and just double check. The inside of the train, is that discussed anywhere here? So it doesn't mention anything about the inside on the first paragraph. This does describe what it looks like on the outside. They're long white, look like something like a bullet. But here it talks about what's inside here. So it does mention it here and speeding along. What about Shinkansen? Does it mention what's on the inside here? And I don't see that. Talks about the speed. Talks about safety. It doesn't mention that in this paragraph at all. So not the inside. So even though I had to go back and check because I couldn't remember. So it's A, the possible speed of the train. I do remember it mentioning that in both passages, but always good to double check. Okay, so what you want to do now is you want to read Seeking Bigfoot on page 136 and the many faces of Bigfoot. So you can see both passages are about Bigfoot, and then answer questions 1 to 5 on page 138. Okay, boys and girls, good luck.